Hi Eric, how are you feeling today?
I'm good. How are you?
A bit of a stiff neck, but
Oh
I'm good.
no.
I,
Why?
I
Why
have
is snack? What did you do?
I I have this thing that's supposed to help. It smells funky.
That's
You
if it
put it,
smells weird, you know that's why it's good.
yeah. Then it's very potent. So yeah,
Did you sleep weird? Did you exercise? What did you do?
I think I slept like that, and then I just stayed that way. Once you reach a certain age. My name is Josh. I'm from Singapore's Kids 92, and a shout out to the camera crew that's actually watching this interview from my side. They're like big fans. Joel, Shalini, Jillian, yeah, they're just quietly in the
Hello,
background.
buddy.
Eric, I want to take us back to that moment in India, right, with the service work, right? And if you think you stayed, do you think a part of you would have wanted to still be that Eric Nam today?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was always the goal and the dream to do music, but you just don't know how. Like, how do you do that? How do you become an artist? Like 12, 13 years ago, TikTok didn't exist. Instagram was still new. YouTube was where a lot of people were doing content
Cover.
creation. And even though it was happening, like there were not many musicians coming out of YouTube. Justin Bieber was still very, very young, and he was probably like the biggest success case for YouTube. And so the music industry and becoming a musician was such a guarded off, fenced off kind of place where you don't know how to break in. And so when I had the opportunity to pursue music, I was like, absolutely, I have to. This is my shot.
Do you think there's like another Eric out there in a multiverse? What do you think he's doing?
Oh, he's definitely still just working in a cubicle somewhere or in the back office of some client doing Lord knows what. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, I've always had so many interests. I could see myself doing a lot of different things, and that's probably why I do so many things even now. I'm very curious, and so there's probably a musician version here, but there's also a barista version working at some coffee shop as well.
I was really looking forward to this interview. I spent my whole weekend was like a deep dive into your work, and I got excited not because you're like famous, or I didn't care so much about the number stuff, but the more that I watched like your podcast and like the interviews that you've done, it just seemed like you're just this cool dude I would hang out with. So I was like, I'm just excited to like hang out with you.
Thank you for doing the deep dive, and thank you for hanging out. I'm very excited as well. Even thinking about growing up, I've never had one specific interest, and I've never had favorites. Like a lot of people have a favorite color, a favorite food, a favorite movie. Like I really don't have a lot of those. If I'm answering those questions in an interview, it's because that's the question I have to give an answer. I don't believe in absolutes. I think there are versions and different modifications, and there's a scale of how we feel and how we enjoy things. And I think that really translates into my life and my career as well. Oh, someone's here. So I think they just brought our bags. Hold on.
It's okay. All good.
Man, should I do that answer again? Just so you have
It's
a
fine. Dude, it's fine. It's like, I think it's brave for you to explore nuances and all the different shades, because a lot of people don't. Like, I mean, I live in Singapore, and it's always pick a color, pick the thing that you want to do, stick with it, and then what happens, you become shackled to it, right? So like, I think it's great that you're adventurous and you don't have that one answer. So
yeah, life is short, and there are also so many things. Just enjoy as many things as you can. That's what I think.
Which brings me to the elusive house on a hill, right? It's that modern day aspiration that every person has, but there are not enough hills for all the houses that we want. And it's the premise for your album. How has making House on a Hill and performing the songs from it cemented your perception of that house on a hill?
I'm coming more and more to terms with the fact that like maybe you don't need a house on a hill. Maybe that house on a hill is the pursuit and the process of finding happiness and being creative and doing what you love and just having the people that you care about and you love around you. And that is the house on a hill. Maybe it isn't necessarily a physical house. For some people, it will be, but for me, now I'm not looking for, oh, I need to get a place or buy a thing or buy an item. It's more about what I'm doing in the moment and who I'm with. And that's been a very, I don't know, in some ways, a very liberating thought to have in the past year or so.
Yeah, how strange is it, right? We have more than we have ever needed at our disposal, and it just to be able to say like it is enough is what you're saying, right? Like I feel enough. I feel like what I have is enough. It reminded me of something I told a friend of mine. I told him to shatter his dreams before reality shatters it for him. Taking a hammer and like chipping away at that house on a hill and then figuring out what do I actually want, right? Like I actually just want sushi. I want to play video games. I want to like fall in love. That's it. I was listening to I Wish It Wasn't Me, and I knew I had to ask you about your relationship with fame. I cannot fathom how much the world opens up to someone who is famous, right? You can go to all these places, you can meet all these incredible people, but on the other hand, it's terrifying for me. Like I want a house in a hole, like rather than on a hill, you know? Are there places that you can go to just disappear if you want to disappear, or people that you can disappear with?
No matter where I go, it's seemingly no matter how far I go too, it's like there will always be people who know who you are and what you do, and they'll figure it out. And there's a complete lost sense of anonymity. I started becoming very paranoid, it's gotten a lot better, but at the peak of when I was so busy, particularly in Korea, like the persona through the TV and through the shows is like, Eric Nam is like the nicest person in the world, which I'm not saying I'm not a nice person, but when that expectation is put upon you, people feel like they can ask everything of you all the time. And because of that expectation, I feel like I have to say yes to everything. And that was when it got really, really hard. Again, I think it comes down to people, like knowing that there are people in the world who, like a lot of my best friends still are from middle school, high school, and then like college. When I'm hanging out with them, they treat me like any other person. And that is what I really appreciate, because it's just like a sense of normalcy, and I don't have to feel like that I can be the realest, truest version of myself, which is always nice.
Yeah, the closest friends I have are not in the entertainment industry, and they remind you that the world is so much bigger than entertainment world. And that's another layer to House on a Hill, right? It's that sense of isolation from everyone else. And you don't want that for yourself as well. I'm trying to listen to more K-pop. I have a lot of friends who seed me a lot of K-pop, and very quickly I'm learning what you can do, what you cannot do, what's considered liberal and free in America is viewed as reckless in Korea. And so I wanted to ask you how you navigate that, since your fan base is both, right? Doing what you love, but then at the same time kind of like being conscious of how people perceive it, or do you just kind of like do what you want?
I used to be so hyper vigilant and conscious about it, to the point where I felt like, oh my God, I can't like live life, which is not necessarily the healthiest thing. And so for me, it's been a process, and it's taken time for me to say like, hey, just like let things go just a little bit, like just kind of relax. You have to save parts of your life for yourself. You have to be selfish. I think there's a weird thing of like authenticity, where everybody's like, oh, we want like the authentic, realist story and like everything. But at the same time, like not all art has to come directly from you as an artist. There are so many artists who are writing about stories of other people, and it's still authentic, it's still true. And when I keep that in mind, it's like, oh, you are able to have multiple sides to yourself, different layers to yourself, be a fully functioning, normal human being. And oh my God, my ADHD is crazy. What was the original question? Because I was trying to bring it back.
No, it's fine. I like where you're taking me with this anyway. You use that to lead you, right? Essentially, you use.
Yeah. See, my brain goes into so many. But yeah, But
I like
I
it too.
really use that to kind of lead me and guide me in saying like, is this okay? Is this right? But at the core, at the baseline level, it's just always like, hey, just be a good person. Hey, just like don't do bad, shady things. And like,
Yeah.
I'm doing this from the best of intentions, the nicest of intentions. Like, that's what I have to keep true to myself.
We are so much more than our biggest mistake and our triumphs as well. We're so much more than even like the coolest thing we've ever done, you know? So
Absolutely. And I think that the other thing is, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, is like what people see on social media or content or whatever, it is literally just a highlight reel, right? It is a highlight reel. And because of that, we are, as consumers, optimized to just make complete full decisions just based on those highlights without understanding the nuance and the layers of what's going on beyond and behind that. I've said this for years. It's like, have grace for yourself, have grace for the people that you're watching or observing on whatever internet social media thing as well, because there are so many other things and you never know what somebody might be going through. And I think people are just so quick to forget that. And so I was just reading stuff online. I was like, people are so mean with their work. And I'm like, it's just so unnecessary. The way that we speak to each other has become very toxic. And so, anyways, sorry.
No, you're right. And it's actually, look, like I just came out of a period of like 4 months of anxiety, and it's very surreal because we're reporting all these headlines on how, like, even in Singapore, we want to prioritize mental health, and even in the entertainment industry, you know, we're losing a lot of people due to poor mental health and treatment, and it's like the answer is right in front of you. Just offer grace to one another. You know, it's not a pill that we need to formulate to teach each other that like grace has been here since the like dawn of mankind. It's like
it's just being nice and being kind, being more understanding. It's oddly, seemingly increasingly difficult in this world because everything has gone to such extremes and polar opposites. It wasn't always like that. And so it's a little, in that sense, a little discouraging, but I think, you know, it's people who have the foresight and the thought to think, okay, well, like, let's not be like that, just to be more active and vocal on that, I think is important.
We're switching to Only for a Moment right now. This is a beautiful song, that desire to crash into one another, right? What would you say to the person watching this video who wants to break free and wants to connect and feels afraid at the same time and feels so disconnected?
In today's time and age, so many of us have really bad social anxiety and we don't know how to talk to people, and we're terrified of putting ourselves out there. And that includes me for a lot of different things. And that's why I think I'm sitting on a train being like, oh man, what if I met the love of my life right now, you know, on this train? And it's that serendipity that we all kind of long for and dream for, but we're terrified of putting ourselves into that position. But if you can muster up the courage, put yourself out there, because you're worth it and you deserve it. And so just go ahead and do it. That's kind of what I would say.
Going with that train analogy, would you say you're living your life with your seatbelts on or off?
I think my life is always with the seatbelt on, but that's because my life goes at an unreasonably fast pace. And so without the seatbelt on, I don't know where or what or how I would survive. Because people are always like, oh, you should just like be more free and like be more careless and reckless. And I was like, the thought of that, A, gives me horrible anxiety, but B, I have to always frame it to them. It's like, I haven't been in a single place for longer than like a 7-day period since May of last year. It is February. That means for 9 months, I haven't spent more than a week in a single spot. In order for me to like actually stay on top of myself and like be sane, I have to have the seatbelt on.
The show that I host is called On Your Way. And I titled that because everyone's on their way in like various layers and meanings of on your way. Like it's not normal to do 7 days and then go to another place in 7 days. It's tough. Where would you say you're on your way towards, or do you feel that you need to hit the brakes?
You know, I'm on this tour. We have like 26 shows left. We've already done like about 50, I want to say 50. Let's get through this tour healthy. I love performing. I love seeing my fans. I love being on stage. But when this is over, it's really, I think about hitting not reset, but a pause and reevaluating. And I have a sense of what I'm going to do. Like I'm working on a lot of movies and TV shows, and you know, I have a couple projects that are in stealth secret mode that I can't wait for people to hear about because they're really exciting and fun. But more than anything outside of work, it's I think trying to find a place where I can just settle for a bit. I'm on my way to finding a place where I can just be. And I think just like have a routine of like getting up, working out, eating a nice little breakfast, and like I need to be bored. Like I wrote a song that I didn't put on the last album, but it's called I'm Scared of Being Bored. But I think I need to be bored to be re-inspired and to really evaluate what are the things that I really want to focus on. I'm at this point where I'm like, is this the way I want to continue living my life? On the road for 9 to 10 months out of the year. And I don't know if that's a sustainable way of living. And so this tour is probably the last tour for a long time. And musically, I don't know what that means, but in terms of touring, I think it's going to be a nice long break. I'm on my way to a break.
I love that. And that is what I want for you. I'm going to thank you now for your time.
Thank you.
I wish you well. I wish that for you. And I think you will. I think you will get that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the thoughtful questions. And I have to say, you have a very special way with words. The way that you synthesize your research and your observations into new phrases is very eloquent. And so I really, really respect that. So thank you for the interview. It's been a good one.
I appreciate that. You are on your way. You be safe, buddy. Take care.
All right. Have a good one. Thanks for the conversation. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Wow, big compliment. Big compliment.
Was that okay?
That was great. It was one of these.
Oh, she's there.
Kiss 92. All the great songs in one place.